Hello and welcome to Sports Talk. My name is Jamie Koepp and I'll be the host for today's show. Our special guest is Jim Jones here. We're taping at the WBCA basketball clinic. Coach Jones, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here.
You know, you're one of the few guests we've had on here that have been on more than one time. That puts you in special company.
I'm always in special company. I'm here all of the time anyway. And I'm kind of glad that you invited me up here because I kind of see a lot more things than some of the other guests that you've had in here and see things from a different venue point, being an old man as I am now, being retired, and still doing a lot of stuff for the WBCA. Last week was the Hall of Fame banquet, and this week, of course, is the Coaches Clinic that they have annual in conjunction with our basketball before we start the basketball season for Wisconsin.
So in general, you know, you do a lot of duties as probably a videographer and some other things that way, and you know, you spent a couple years as an art teacher back in a different time of your life. Where did you gain the experience of photography, or did you learn as you go?
You learn as you go with anything you do. I used to teach regular black and white photography, but we're in a different situation now with the compact cards, and then of course, you know, I rely a lot on the young people because a lot of your young people are really, really exceptional. They're smart.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, you're part of it too.
Are.
A little hard-headed too.
Okay, so from art to basketball, how'd that combination work as a coach? Not many people are art teachers that coach basketball.
Well, you know what? It is what it is. And if you take a look in the NBA or on the collegiate level, a lot of guys they design clothes. They make their own clothes. So that's a part of the artistic part of it. And I wasn't the only one in the city conference that was that was an art teacher.
Right.
Phil Jones at Bayview was an art teacher. And of course, he and I are both from the same hometown, Rockford, Illinois. So.
Okay, so the number of years go by coaching, that wraps up. What keeps your blood going and your energy to be able to be as helpful as you are WBCA-wise to do this stuff? Is it the relationships you've had with people? Is it friendships with Jerry and a bunch of other people? Or what keeps you interested?
I kind of think it's a combo of everything that you mentioned, but I think particularly the young kids and, of course, the young coaches that you had as players now that's trying to make that transition, and they're finding out that it looks a lot easier than what it is. But the camaraderie of individuals like yourself, Jerry, and a lot of the people in the WBC, it's kind of like a fraternity. You get a chance to see what they're doing, and everybody is about the same. They just do it on different levels, and they do it their way.
You know, keeping the talk on a positive level, when Jerry and I have been talking recently, your name comes up on quite a few things. Some of them are funny, some of them are true, some are just storytelling. But the one thing we talked about is years ago, you being an ambassador with the WBCA for the city conference as much as anything to try to get young coaches or city coaches involved with WBCA so they can understand the importance. Did it ever feel like a helpless job, or what kept you motivated to try to get the city coaches involved?
You know what? Everything is kind of helpless as you go along. It depends on who pull these kids aside and who get in their ear. You were a great example of the young kids that you have, and I can remember Jimmy Gaz, the late Larry Gross. I can go on down the line. Phil Jones, Win Parkinson, Clyde Russ, the late Clyde Russ. They were my mentors, and you just take little bitty things, and you take pride in what you do. You take pride in what you do.
One of the stories I told we were talking with Jerry about was when I first met you and you were a middle-aged coach at the time, lost your cool, and I think I came to your defense to look out for you. I think that's how I remember the story. Do you remember that story in Oconomowoc?
You absolutely did, but that was you. That was you. That was not me. I was always out of whack, but I was out of whack for my kids. And a lot of times I did that, and I would sometimes tell the officials that, you know what, I'm doing this so that my kids don't get derailed and it keeps them in the game. You know, I don't really have anything to say about to you, but, you know, you might want to use my glasses, though, and take a look at what's going on and forget about who you're playing against.
I'm sure that went over well when you suggested the referee use your eyeglasses.
Yeah, I got technical. But, you know, it was kind of worth it because then they're kind of aware of what's going on. And I even tried to entice the officials in giving me a technical. And I said, well, how do you get a technical? You had to swear at them. So that's what I did.
Okay, remember this is a family show, so we're not going to go down that path.
No, I just said swear,
Okay.
though, okay?
You made me nervous.
It could be, no, I would not do that. I have a great deal of respect for everybody out there in Wisconsin. Maybe.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about the clinic and the growth of the clinic and the various speakers, not just the high school speakers, but the people that have connections that come back. You've been doing this videography for a long time. You must have come across a number of people, some that you care more for, and some that you're just happy to shake hands, take a picture, and move on from.
Well, you know what? I've often tried to get people involved in being a part of the WBCA. I have a lot of kids out there. Dante Jackson, who played in our All-Star game, is now the head coach at Grambling, and he's made a couple pit stops at a couple other places. But just getting these young people involved so that they know that basketball is a worldwide thing, and that's no joke. And Wisconsin has always had really good coaches, not just at your so-called premium schools, but you go up north, you go east, you go west, you go north, you go south. We got some exceptional coaches. And we have some outstanding young men that once they go to these different locations, and these kids know each other better than we do. As they play AAU. You know, I call it the age of electronics. I'm kind of like a baby boomer, okay? I kind of just sit back and watch what's going on. Kind of watch you guys squat away and think that you know more than you, and think you invented this and that. So.
Okay, let's talk about the players from years ago till now. You know, sometimes kids get a bad rap because of social media, attitudes, expression, things like that. Have the players changed through the years at all? And if so, how have they done it, both positively or the other direction?
You know, that's a catch-22. In some instances, you have some great ones. And then, you know, with the AAU, and I'm not, you know, AAU is fine, you know, for some people. I just want my kids to get out there and play, not because, and because of the social media thing, kids want to play for certain teams. They want to get free gear. And then you got the wrong people in these kids' ear. You know, you can see what's going on right now. But as far as the ability, I told you, if you go down the line and take a look at all of the kids that played, the Juneau, Hamilton, Bayview, Tech, Vincent, these kids know each other. You got a lot of kids that are in the NBA that's played at different levels. You have coaches that have moved on that's in different levels. And, of course, you know, it's a little different now where kids kind of like maybe want to recruit, say, hey, Coach Koepp, I think I'm going to go to Juneau. Can you get a couple other guys to go? And I don't know how that stuff materialized and what happened, but it does happen, and it's been going on forever. We just see a lot more of it now because of social media, and as soon as that happens, you know, it kind of hit the fan. Everybody knows what's going on.
It does. You know, you think about the number of years. How many years were you at Hamilton, Milwaukee Hamilton, and what were the coaching levels?
I was at Milwaukee Hamilton for about 30 years. Started out on the sophomore level for 1 year, and then I got promoted. But that was kind of like promoted as an assistant coach because somebody else wanted to coach the JV team. Of course, you know, as you get a little older, you kind of visualize all of the stuff that's going on. But just varsity coach at Milwaukee Hamilton, and we did things from the ground up. We didn't recruit anybody. To me, it's all about education, and you can kind of comprise that stuff together and go from there. And some kids, you know, maybe wanted to come there, and at that particular time, you know, were you a good student? Well, no. Well, you don't want to come there. And you want the kids to be successful. You want them to go someplace where they can play. Even though it might have made your program a better program, they're not going to be eligible, and there's no way that you're going to manipulate or change grades or do anything like that. At least I wasn't.
No, and certainly not. It's the big piece is the education, getting that piece of paper of the diploma to open up some doors.
Exactly.
Over everything else.
Exactly. Yes.
You know, so I think about a couple funny stories. You were one of the first people that, you know, you did some laundry here and there at Hamilton. I think you were by my house. I had our varsity uniforms hanging on the clothesline in the basement. I stopped by Gary DePerry's house a couple times. He had his uniforms in the basement. Can you imagine that taking place now?
Well, you know what? I couldn't get uniforms. My thing is that I wanted my uniforms to be clean. I wanted my kids to have clean, fresh uniforms on, and they disappear. You won't have a uniform. We didn't have the budget and the money, they said, for our particular school, but other schools seem to do. So I decided to collect the uniforms after each one, take them home, and then eventually we had a washing machine and a dryer in our drying room put downstairs so that we could hang them up and you'd come in the next week. We'd wash them before we'd leave, but that's how you survive. That's how you had to survive. At least that's how I had to.
Yeah, I think we had a lot of similarities being the schools we were at the time.
Yes.
In with that, and when I felt like it was such a luxury when we had a wash machine at the high school.
Yeah, we even went further than that. We had an ice machine too back there with us. So, and our place was a little bigger than yours too at the time. So.
See, that's just the glorious things. Those are the hidden facts of Hamilton, all the luxury items that they had that no one was aware of. An ice machine, a washer, a dryer, a hanging area. Heck, you probably had carpets on the sideline when there was coaching boxes implemented. Did you ever have one of those on the sideline?
No, we didn't do that, but we pretty much had a lot of other stuff. And you know, that school was kind of like ahead of its time. I think it, and I still think it's a great gymnasium. You got the end line where you could put bleachers. I haven't been there though, probably for about 12 years. I haven't been back since abruptly. Yeah.
Well, you think about it, it all happens for a reason, and sometimes when some of those junky things happen, there's different nudges, there's different silver linings that come from it too, whether that be through friendships or through finding yourself. Some of those things just at the time, they tick you off.
Well, you know what? The Lord works in mysterious ways, and not being a religious person or saying anything like that, but you also have friends like you that were around that had not been around, and you want to stay attached to what's going on because the game has changed and it's getting better. It's evolved into what it is right now, and you can take the pluses from this and go from there. If we were to sit here and name a lot of these kids that are in these different positions now, that have kids that played for me, that have kids that play like East Troy and some of the other schools that have moved on, that are all state players in themselves. So,
you look back and obviously it's the basketball coaching career, but there's also the teaching component, and now you're at an age where, through having taught for so many years and coached for so many years, then now you're another generation for different people that have both come in that played for you, but also their children now or their relatives and things like that are involved too. And until time goes on, you don't really know. You don't hear from them, and when you hear from them, it has to be a proud moment.
Well, yeah, I kind of stay away from that though. Okay, I'm really proud of what these kids do, and when they do invite me to something like that, this is their time. Okay, they want to ask questions. I really don't have anything that I could possibly say to them or share with them. I can share out of bounds plays, but you have to implement that stuff yourself and use your personality and try to take things from you kind of use your peripheral vision, a basketball term, instead of having tunnel vision, and don't just use one idea. Try to use a variety of ideas that's going to fit your personality, going to fit the group of kids that you're working with.
So as people watch the show, they think of you as a longtime coach at Milwaukee Hamilton of hoops, and can you elaborate a little bit if there's any other sports two things, one that you either participated in or two that you coached while you're at Hamilton? Because like I said, most people watching the show would have thought you coached basketball and nothing else.
Actually,
share a little bit, Coach Jones.
Well, I played football in high school, played 2 years of junior college football, I was a high jumper, placed in the state of Illinois 3 straight years when I was there, and long jump. Participated in the Drake Relays when I was at Buena Vista University. Larry Bittner was a young man that I played with from Pocahontas, Iowa, that played with the Rangers and then was traded to the Cubs. So I had a chance to drive down there in the early 70s to see him. So, and then there's some guys that played with the Bucks. Sam Williams, for one, that played at Burlington when I was at Fort Dodge. So, yeah, I've been pretty fortunate to be around a lot of good people, even in high school, playing against the likes of Cassie Russell and even Dick Garrett, who played at Centralia. whose son played over at Vincent High School.
Boy, when people hear these names and they're a little bit on the advanced age of over 30, they're going to hear these names. They'll be quite surprised. Once again, our guest is Jim Jones. He's an absolute legend in the Milwaukee area for many, many years and continues to this day. Buena Vista, you mentioned. What state or country
Buena
is that
Vista,
in?
Storm Lake, Iowa, probably one of the best four-year schools, university now, in the country. Do your homework. You know, you just threw that at me like, you know, legends and doing all of this. You know, I wish our kids would be a little more aware of the history that put them in this position to be as good as they are right now. They need to learn the history. You know, they talk about the best ball players, high school ball players, best pro players, best college players. Let's do it by decades, because a lot of people don't even know anything about Oscar Robertson, Jerry West, the logo. You can go on down the line. Jimmy Real. I mean, they didn't have shooting machines then, and he played at where? He played at Purdue. Rick Mount, you know, Steve Alford. So at any rate, guys got to do your homework, young fellas.
I think those young fellows have to do their homework. You're right. I just want to make sure that you had a chance to say where that was from. Because people watching the show wouldn't have really had an idea unless they would have Googled it. That's what they do nowadays, Jim. They Google it.
They might do that, but even my good friend Eli Krogan went to Luther College in the core of Iowa. Some great small colleges, just like you have some great small colleges in Wisconsin. They got some great small colleges in Iowa. So, you know, this is what I'm talking about when you asked me earlier. You know, you can play basketball, but you want to be well-rounded. You want to be able to know different things, okay? And as long as you do that, you're going to always be able to bounce a basketball, okay?
You are. So, you know, we talk a little bit about, obviously, it starts and finishes when you start with coaching with the kids and relationships. Talk a little bit about what you did in the off-season with basketball related to other sports. I think people, you know, nowadays coaches tend to coach one sport, and they do it almost year-round. Talk about those years where maybe you taught a little sprinting, or you taught maybe something on the football field or things like that.
Well, I did have the special teams in football, but I got smart after that, because you start out when it was 80 degrees and end up when it was like 40 below zero. So that's how I became a videographer, okay, for Mike Dressler at Hamilton. The other thing is that I coached track, okay, and then track in Wisconsin is like you're running on that hard floor, you know, inside. Kids are getting shin splints and so forth and so on. So I did coach track, and I'd like to kind of give kids a time off, but it's not like that anymore. You know, you want to give the kids things to work on during the summer so they come back so that you're a better team at your particular high school that you're going to. But I would love my kids to be versatile, and I've had kids like the late Tony Diggs and kids that were twofold, that were all state in both football and basketball. So I think kids at that age should be given an opportunity, if they want to play at different levels, okay? So, but now they've gotten to the point where, you know, it's, you're going to high school, then prep school, from prep school, then you're going to college for 1 year, one and done, and there might be some reasons for that one and done, but I just think only so many people are going to make it in the pros, be it in the States here or be it worldwide, so.
So as you go around now, do you go to see any high school basketball games now in your retired state?
I probably see more basketball than you do, and you are the athletic director at Watertown High School, and I would tell anybody that, and I do, because being on the committee to select Mr. Basketball, your all-state teams, and just being honest to kids that don't get the recognition, because sometimes coaches have tunnel vision where they don't recognize other kids because they want to throw their kids in a pool. It should be a wide open situation where you got kids all over the state, and they know each other better than the coaches that are, you scratch my back, I'm going to scratch your back. It don't work that way with me. The best is the best, and you know, I don't know if a kid can make it at the next level. That's up to the coach that's recruiting that kid. So when somebody asks me, do you think that kid can play at this level or this level? I don't know. I don't know how you're going to use them. I'm not on your coaching staff. But the kid is, and then some kids mature at different age levels, okay? may take them a year or so or two out of school. And we have some kids in the state here that have left the state of Wisconsin you knew hardly anything about that excel better than your so-called number one or number two individual.
So when you go places, do you film games, and do you tend to do that so that you have access to it and other people do for Mr. Basketball, or you just go there and grab a hot dog and a bottle of water and a popcorn?
No, I don't drink I don't eat the popcorn. Hot dogs are bad for you. And I like to tape the games because there are a lot of people, like C.J. Bray, that was our Mr. Basketball that played at Catholic Memorial. Nobody knew anything about the kid. And the kid, I think he had 32 points and 14 rebounds and 10 assists against Wisconsin Lutheran. And he was a lefty and went on and played 4 years at Princeton. I know he lost his mom in the 8th grade when she was in 8th grade, and I think the day before he was going to play in the sectional against Wisconsin Lutheran, he lost his grandfather. So I like to let people see what's on tape. Oh yeah, I didn't know anything about the kid. Well, why are you on the committee? And I'm not a very nice person either. You just tell them like it is then, okay?
I don't believe that for a split second.
Yeah, you do.
Not in the least. Okay, so let's backtrack a little bit. What kept you at Hamilton 30 years, and did you ever anticipate staying there that long? Or did they just go by fast?
You never anticipate that, and it goes by fast. And you know what?
You're scowling, Coach
No,
Jones.
it was about the kids, because the kids are the ones that made me who I am right now. And it's good to see these kids when they're out there by themselves. And you know, you had the prom, you had homecoming, you had different dances. You'd go see the girls play basketball, volleyball. You know, you had those kids in your class, and you know, you wouldn't know anything about clay design or ceramics. Okay, you probably don't even know how to roll a piece of clay or how to knead it and how to cut it to see that you get the air pockets out. I do have a little bit of knowledge about that too. It isn't just basketball. You just equate what you have on the basketball court to what you have in your classroom, and everything is for a purpose. Everything is for a reason.
When you were growing up, before you got a degree to teach art, did you anticipate you'd be an art teacher?
That's what I wanted to be all along, except when I began teaching, I wanted to go in the U.S. Treasury Department, but I couldn't pass my physical. I played a lot of softball and messed my ankle up, and I ended up starting out at Fulton Middle School. Ended up transferring the first year of integration desegregation in 76, 77, and that's when I went to Milwaukee Hamilton. And I had a chip on my shoulder like these young kids do, and I tell kids that though too. I didn't want to be there, and they made me a full-time human relation liaison person. That was right up my alley because I like dealing with people and dealing with young kids. And the kids, man, they're just phenomenal. They're so smart. They don't know it until an adult individual get a hold of them and kind of mold them down the wrong way. So.
Were you always as shy as you are now?
I've never been shy. I think I'm very good. And if you don't think that you're good, then nobody else is going to think you're good, okay? You're going to recognize me, I'll recognize you, but it is what it is.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So as we get, next, handful of minutes of the show here as we go on, what are some things that, you hope through the years, the players that played for you, the kids that were in your classes, that they took from you?
I kind of think they used to ask me why I wear a suit every day. Well, that was my job. And I have young people now that are head coaches, that are teachers, that are lawyers, and now they get it, okay? You have to dress for your profession, okay? You got to be who you are. You got to recognize, okay? You can't just go and cut off jeans or wear what I have on right now. You want to be presentable, okay? Because it's about who you know, it's about your appearance, and it's about what you know. So
it is, and you probably developed your image. I think that you'd be one of the few people nowadays, if you'd transform this to the present, of an art teacher wearing a shirt and tie and or a suit coat under that. What was that thing that you probably took off your suit coat and you're like Mr. Rogers? You put a smock on or a sweater? What was that you'd put on in the art room?
Well, see, you guys are making fun of this right now. You guys call it a smock. We can be sophisticated and call it a technician top or jacket that you put on. And all of the kids bring it, or you can wear an old white shirt or whatever like that. But I really, once again, believe that you need a white one, a blue one, and you need to come in the room and you need to do your job for the 80 minutes that you're in the block scheduling, that you're working on your project. So everything's for a reason.
Okay, since I've been kind of, busting your chops about the art world, now let's transition as we get ready to wrap the show up. How important was sports in general? Has sports been through your childhood, adolescence, teenage, college, and adulthood, in whatever role, if it was playing, participating, coaching, watching?
I probably wouldn't have been able to go to college if it had not have been for athletics. And athletics been really an important part of what's going on, but it was also the academic part of it when I was in high school. And, I played on a football team that was one of the first undefeated team in Rockford in about 80 years, playing with the likes of Rick Venturi and Bob Fisher, who played at Purdue, and of course Rick was the head coach at Northwestern. But it was a great impact, and of course all of my sisters were between 18, 20 years older than me, and I had like 4 moms, including my mom, and my oldest sister just passed away the past week that was also a mom. So I owe a great deal of them learning how to sew, learning how to cook, and do different things like that. So you want to be versatile, and even when I was at Hamilton and the early part of that, you went down in the home ec department at that particular time. I don't think you guys call it home ec anymore, but kids were thinking, well, that's okay if Coach Jones is going down there. Well, you better learn how to cook. You might not be with a girl or a wife, they may put you out. So you got to learn how to sew, you got to learn how to iron, you got to learn how to cook. So
family consumer education nowadays. Once again, our guest, Jim Jones, obviously a legend in the Milwaukee area, and most people that watch the show know he's one of my dearest and closest friends. This concludes another edition of Sports Talk. Until next time, keep talking sports. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Jamie.